All right, well, we are off and rolling in what is the first edition of the Inside the Boat podcast, brought to you by the United States Dragon Boat Federation. I'm your host, Bob Mina. I've been a national team paddler 6 times. I've been paddling since 2004 when I stumbled into the sport of dragon boat as a burned out triathlete looking for something new. And the Youth Commission reached out to me to say if I wouldn't mind hosting this to try and facilitate and bring along the conversation. And we reached out to the coaches from the last World Cycle. And our first three guests who will be with us tonight are Nathan Salazar, Juntai Zheng, and Ondrian Yeung. So we will go around here and make introductions. Um, Nathan, tell us a little bit about yourself and like where you are and who you're coaching right now.
Hey Bob, thank you for this. Hello everyone. Nathan Salazar. I paddle out of on the West Coast. My club is the LA County Dragon Boat Club, um, and I was last cycles and 4 cycles prior, the 18U and 16U head coach for USDBF Team USA, and maybe this is the only opportunity I get to do this. See our trophy? This is the Youth
Oh,
Cup.
the filter's working against you. We'll have to work on that. Give
Well,
me
you
some
guys
of the
saw a little
face.
bit of it,
Yeah.
which obviously I did not earn myself, but the kids did. And congrats to all of them. But I was there um, guiding them. So that's been paddling for I'm older than my other co-coaches here. Um, I started in the Philippines and then I moved to the US. And then again, I'm coaching the LA County Club and then also with Team USA.
All right. Juntai,
Yeah,
introduce
hi.
us.
My name's Juntai. I've been paddling for about 10 years now. Started out with Cal back in 2016 as a college paddler. And then after I graduated, there was that whole funky COVID thing. But afterwards, I continued paddling with San Diego and South Breeze. And I first started getting involved with the 24U program in 2019 as a paddler. And then after that, became an assistant coach for a cycle. And then the previous cycle in Germany, co-coaches with Ondrian.
Awesome. And speaking of which, Andrian, you're certainly not last here, but tell
Yeah,
us a
so
little bit
I'm
about yourself and
Ondrian.
welcome.
Also been paddling for around like 10 years. I first started, or in the beginning, I was paddling with Riverside, UC Riverside. And then now I coach Rising Tide Dragon Boat. And then I also paddle with the Newport Aquatic Center. Similar to Jintai, I started also in 2019 in the Thailand cycle. And then we just want to do more. So we applied as head coaches and we had just had a great run.
I have to say, as an East Coaster, when I hear that you were doing this in high school, it's it there's no part of my brain that follows that. I just think that is the coolest thing. Only because I started when I was near 40 years old. And for it to have been a sport that you were doing in school, that is strictly, I'm beyond envious of the West Coast for having that sort of foundation already.
But for us, I don't even know how because we were so far from the water. Like it doesn't kind of doesn't make sense. It just kind of
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
Well, so now you kind of in your intros mentioned how long each of you have been doing it, but how did you first each discover Dragon Boat? And I'll keep going in the same order just because that's how I have it in terms of experiential in my notes. So Nathan, you go first. How did you how
Is
did you
it is
first
it is
stumble into this sport?
are we going by age?
No, we're going by experience.
I started when I was 16. I was in the Philippines. That's already college age, and I was looking for a new sport, and I saw a bulletin that's inviting what's called a dragon boat team, and I tried it. I had no idea what to wear when I went there because I didn't know what a dragon boat was.
Right.
And I came home all soaking wet. In Asia, we paddle all soaking wet, right? And then I fell in love, and I've been paddling since. That was 95, so about 31 years ago.
Right after the first Worlds in Yu Yang, but you probably didn't even know that was happening then.
No, not yeah, but that was the second one. I went to Hong Kong the second the 97 Worlds.
Yeah,
I was
no,
there.
I want to get to that because you mentioned
Yeah.
that in your prep that you were there in 97. So I definitely have that. That's something I want to get back to. But
Fun, fun.
Juntai, how'd you like
Yeah, so when you're in college, you don't know anyone, you're trying to figure out your place in life. And I think one thing that I was looking for was something where, finding a club where I could fit in, fulfill both social and physical, wants. Like I wanted to get more fit. I couldn't bench the bar back then. And like, I didn't have many friends who went to Berkeley, with me. So, when I saw the team tabling on campus, I was like, huh, that's kind of efficient, You make lots of friends and you get fit at the same time, right? So
That's amazing.
I kind of hopped in and then it just made sense. I think that like it really helps that you have so many friends doing the same thing as you,
Big time.
and it really shaped the rest of my life in terms of having friends in that sphere, and I don't really need more friends.
Yeah,
There's enough friends in Dragon Boat to keep me occupied, so I think it was a really good fit for me.
that's for sure. The sandbox continues to grow. I mean,
Yeah.
every year it gets bigger and bigger. And
That is-
Andrea, I know you said in your notes that you have a friend asked you to try in high school. Are you still friends with that friend? Is that
Oh
worked out?
yeah. Mine's actually a really silly story. So, well, my friend Oliver's been pestering me for ages to join Dragon Boat in high school. Just like every time I see him, he's like, join this sport. I said no repeatedly, and then one day I was failing my physics test or just really struggling in physics class, and someone named Mignon threw her notes at me, and she was like, "Here, I'll help you out, but you had to paddle after, like just one session." Um, I didn't use the notes at all. I still failed the test. But afterwards, she collected her notes. She was like, "Okay, give me my notes back. You're coming to practice." And I was like, "I have no choice. I have to
Yeah.
go now." And then ever since, all of them made it very like just a very like community type of team vibe that I've never had before. I was a
Mhm.
cross country athlete at the time, so there was no like team kind of aspect to it. There was, but you're just still running on your own. So
Yeah.
I guess I love team sports.
Yeah, it is better. I ran cross country as well, but I should say more accurately, I ran behind cross country. They would take off and I would basically be the guy that made them look good. So yeah, it's more fun when you can't physically get dropped with the boat. I've always enjoyed that part of the sport.
Yeah, it's
Even if you're
funny when you don't
struggling,
know
you're
who's
still there.
yep,
So
exactly.
what moving on to what inspired you all to become coaches? Because you paddled, and that's one thing when you're part of the machine and you're in the races and you're doing things, but you have to have a different mindset. I know personally I could not coach. So you have something special, and there's a piece that each of you have that you bring to the table. But how did you discover that? What made you want to be a coach? And Nathan, you can lead off.
Um, to be honest, when I moved to the US in 2000, I had no intentions of coaching. I raced in a San Francisco festival with the Philippine Marines who came, and that's when I met a local club, Killer Guppies, a local West Coast club, and I became their coach only because I had more experience at the time amongst the many members. And then I don't know if everybody knows Dr. Chen. He's our father here on the West Coast, and he gave me opportunities to coach in different places. Sent me various states to coach, and that's the one that kind of honed me to in coaching. And then why am I still coaching? I guess I like a thankless job. I find it fun to help and see somebody from beginning to where they are on the top of the world champs. And I've seen successes. I've also seen failures, but and both of those they both inspire me to be still where I am right now.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yeah,
my introduction, Dr. Chen was doing the Long Beach Festival. I just thinking as we were talking, 2016. That was 10 years ago. It was
right.
the first time I was on the West Coast. And I remember we were pushing off a beach. I'm like, this looks nothing like Philadelphia. This is far too nice. How is this real? And so but won't slag
Yeah.
on the East Coast too much. So Juntai, what made you
Yeah.
want to be a coach?
Um, it started kind of young. Like, I think my roots, I was a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, so I had like mandatory leadership experience, like starting from when I was a young kid. And
Mhm.
I think, the earlier you start, the more you realize how you can mess up and how you learn from all that experience. And I think that it actually helped me a lot in terms of understanding what being a good leader is and also how thankless of a job it is, but also finding the meaning of it regardless of how much external validation you get. So I think, when I joined Cal, I was a captain and it was pretty cool just like helping out peers and making an environment that was fulfilling for all my friends. And then the experience that I had in 24U, like just being able to go around the world, and like uh, see what is possible outside of like our tiny little local NorCal
Yeah.
bubble, right? Was like mind blowing, along with from both seeing my peers as well as like the world competition. And I think that changed a lot of like uh, what I believed and what was possible for myself. And it was transformational for me, I think, very formative years. And I thought that, hey, like we got our asses kicked. And I think that like this period is like great and has so much potential with all the youth in this area. It's just that we need more cultivation and uh, just better guidance in that way. And I thought that we could do that if we just spent the time on it. So I think it's been 6 years since we've been involved, since we started getting involved with this program. And I think every single year we've been iteratively getting better and seeing that growth over every single year and making all these connections with and creating these fantastic new paddlers that go out in the world has been super fulfilling, like way more fulfilling than anything like me paddling on my own could do, right? Your impact is so great by helping this entire program and how it spreads across the nation that it's really fulfilling.
Fantastic. Your turn, Ondrian.
I think for me, I just love encouraging growth. I think it's really important, fascinating to me, or like exciting to me. I think one of the first times I was able to like really promote growth at the top was like at Riverside when I was at UCR Dragon Boat. So we started like when I took over, we only had 6 core members. We were running small boats. We're like, oh, we can't even take out a 10 man. Like, do we skip practice and just get food? But no, we endured and we built the team. And then like 2 years later, we had like a 50 man crew, like 2 boats out. So it's just like super exciting, that fact. I was also in like a business organization in college, ended up being like president leading that. But contrary to my parents' wishes, I chose Dragon Boat over a business type of initiative. Or yeah, they're like the epitome of like the American dream. They started business here and everything, but yeah, now they have a dragon boater at the Sun, so we're all good here.
Not a bad thing. We all had to explain to our parents what it is exactly. It's a what now? Like it's a boat with 20 people. How big is it?
Yeah.
Hang on, Ma. It's okay.
And now they're like, you want me to travel to where now to watch you?
Oh, yeah. So next question I have is, what has been your most meaningful experience that you've had in the sport so far? And Nathan, as I hand to you, I want to go back to you being, because it jumped out at me that you were at the 97 Worlds. And I know that's not necessarily what you want to talk about, but I want to ask while we're on this topic, what was your recollection of that? What were you doing there? Because
I
I love
it,
that.
it was too big for me, as a young, very new paddler. I wasn't being referred to as my college team at that time. We were called the Philippines, right? It was big, too big. I was too small.
Mhm.
And I mean, the experience was great. I don't think I came home with a medal. I still do have the souvenir paddle that they were selling there. It was when Grey Owl was new, and I bought one as a souvenir. I still have it here. I mean, it's very memorable. I remember seeing Philadelphia there, or Team USA. And I still see some of them now on the water,
Say right at that time, and this is
coach
sort of
Rob,
history for Juntai and Ondrian, they were one and the same. The way things went back then was when you won nationals, you were Team USA. So Philadelphia went to Hong Kong in the 97 Worlds. When you look upon the history of the U.S. Dragon Boat Federation, that was the first Lego. That was the first gold that
Wow.
any program won. The 500-meter final was there, and Bob McNamara was on that boat. So in Philly, that's like as soon as you join, you learn that DNA, and it's handed down. So when you had said you were at the Worlds in '97, I'm like, stop! I can bring that up. But
That's so
if you don't
crazy.
mind me adding,
oh
I got a couple more to share on most
yeah,
memorable.
absolutely. It's back to you.
I showed you the cup, um, the cup, the World Youth Cup that they won last cycle. I think that's super memorable. The juniors in all distances have seen the top of the podium. They earned it really hard. So it's really one of the most memorable of it by obvious reasons. And the other one really was just the other day. I saw one of my juniors from 2009, and he's now an officer in the U.S. Marines. You know, it's I had to hug him tight. You know, it was great. You know, to see them grow, and a lot of them are now professionals, and those memorable, distinct reasons why I still enjoy the whole experience.
Oh yeah, and there's lessons you probably taught that are now interwoven. And if he's a Marine, he's always going to be a Marine, and you're always going to be a part of that. So
I hope so.
that's fantastic.
Juntai, he went to Worlds before you were even born.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I'm not much better. I was crawling.
Yeah. If you stick with the sport long enough, you're going to see that happen. It's a good thing. It's also sort of weird, but yeah, it's a good thing. So, Juntai, what's your most meaningful experience in the sport so far?
I mean, like the easiest one was, previous cycle. I mean, Ondrian was there for we got our first ever standard gold. It's hard to choose a moment more meaningful than that. It was like, you know, 10 years of my paddling career slash like 6 years of us in the program building up to that one moment, it was very American underdog story, very sports movie ending, jumping, crying, jumping for joy, hugging each other type of moment, for everyone, on the team, whether they were watching or, on the boat. So, very, very easy, very memorable moment. And I think that I keep on telling stories about when I was in Thailand for 2019, and I feel like that's definitely the moment that the entire team is going to keep talking about for the rest of their paddling careers as well. So,
you may win a lot of medals, but that first one
yeah,
only happens once.
Mm.
So there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Ondrian, kind of similar, parallel. Do you have a different memorable one, or are you guys sharing the same kind of high water mark?
Yeah, I'll double down on that one, but I'll tell a different aspect of the story that wasn't heard yet. So, Juntai and I almost missed that race, actually. We actually never got to see it happen.
Oh no!
We ran around like they have this holding area where you have to hold all the name badges of all your paddlers.
Yeah.
So Juntai and I were holding the badges for that race, and we were looking like distraughtly for anyone we knew that could stand there. It can be anyone, like it can be like a spectator and like any of Nathan's several hundred people from his program. It could have been anyone, but no one in sight walked past. And Jintai and I just had our phones out. The race was about to start, and we were just like, "Are we really just gonna sit here in silence and watch this like race happen?" And we were just really moping and sad. We like at the last possible second, Julie Rogers came and we handed her the phone, and we are like, "Are you okay? We just like run over there and watch it, and you can watch it here in this cage all alone." She said yes. So Jintai and I ran over, like sprinted as fast as we could, made it to the stands, and then found our team. And then that's exactly when the race started, and we got to watch the whole thing. We didn't even see the finish of the race because we just looked at each other and we cried. So yeah, it was an insane moment.
Yeah, well, especially in the 1K, because you pretty much, unless you're in a sprint finish, you're going to have
Yeah.
enough of a gap, you hope, so you can kind of know, and that's an absolutely magical moment.
Yeah, but
Being
we
in,
we
being
almost
out.
missed it watching in a cage together, so
I saw
made
I
it
saw
out.
them really celebrating. I was celebrating with them because my son was in that boat. So I was like, yeah.
Is it harder as a parent when it's your kid in the boat and you can do nothing but watch?
Uh, it's hard because
Yeah.
you want to cheer as loud as you want, but then you want to save your voice because you're coaching another set of 110 kids. But I had a great time working with Ondrian and Juntai and definitely trusted their program. So I was just happy, and I know my wife and my other kids were there cheering on, and it was
I
great.
couldn't imagine coaching.
Yeah.
I have had to call a race that my daughter was in and that they were winning. And I remember in the middle of it, the parent in me had to be basically tackled and held down so the announcer professional in me could do the job and hold it together. And to this day, it's still one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And as soon as the race was over, I cut the mic and then just started jumping up and down and throwing all my stuff around the finish line. So I completely understand. Then I turn the mic back on and I'm like, well, so anyway, it's the
True,
hardest
true.
thing. I couldn't hold it
That's
together
true.
like you guys. No chance. But everybody understands the emotion because when you know how much has been invested and you know how much has gone into and how long it takes to get to that, when it breaks right and you can really savor it, how many people get to experience that? That's
True, true.
what keeps us coming back. So what keeps you guys, now that you've been in it for a few years and you've tasted experience and you've had cycles, you've been paddlers, you're now coaches, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you coming back to do it over again? Because basically after Worlds, it's a flashy thing. The boards get cleared, the rosters get cleared, and we have to start over. So Nathan, how do you stay motivated?
Honestly, the whole family, in my case, the whole family is involved. Everybody paddles, the wife, the kids, the three kids. And then I have a club who has like some 200 members. So that's a lot of work, a lot of seeing newbies, a lot of seeing veterans. And you also got to be creative. There's outrigger, there's V1 that's on there that you can use to kind of enjoy paddling. I don't think I should be coaching 100% of the time. So I try to go paddle on one day and be a coach on another practice. And then the travel, you make it interesting. There's a lot of trips. I know a lot of you guys are going to go to Taiwan. My club's going to go to Korea. So there's a lot of those where you gotta be creative and again make it motivating. I have a new set of juniors because my juniors last cycle already aged out. They're moving on to Ondrian and Juntais.
Nice.
So now I gotta be creative and figure out how to recruit new younger kids and then teach them, get them up to speed. So it's all that, and I gotta make it fun. I always teach the kids get frustrated. I tell them that I teach them that get frustrated, and then after you get frustrated, turn your frustration into something good. So
Mhm.
that applies to myself as well. When things are not going the way I want them to go, and I get frustrated. That's okay. Then I come back with better ideas after. So that's why I'm still on the coaching.
Juntai, what keeps you motivated and coming back? Like, how do you dig in
Yeah.
and keep moving?
So I would say there are three main things. The first one is Andre and I have this conversation where we're like, I'll do it if you do it.
Oh, great, the Thelma and Louise approach.
Yeah. And it's like, I can't back down if Andre's not backing down. We're in it together, right? So
Oh yeah. You
so
gotta have at least one friend like that where it's like, that sounds like a terrible idea. What time do you want me to be there?
yeah, it's only a year and a half commitment. And it's become even more where like, it's not just Anju and me. It's like we hear from a lot of like other leaders and paddlers of like, oh yeah, like we will only do it if you do it. And we're like, oh man, I guess we're doing it again. So just like hearing that other people are in it with us is really motivating. I think the second thing is that it's good that I have a break in between for me personally, right? So I have this cycle where I am on. I am on, I'm ready, I'm committed for this period of time of this cycle. And then, this past like year-ish of time off has been really refreshing. The best feeling in the world is stepping off of a leadership position and taking no responsibilities. It is the most freeing feeling in the world, right? So I think having that opportunity for me has been great in terms of like work-life balance, just recovering from all of that, right? And then the final thing for me, again, is just like knowing that we have the momentum and seeing every step of growth we've had all these past years, right? So it's a feeling of we can't stop here. We're only getting better and better. And like, we really, this is the prime moment to build up the next generation, especially the leadership, especially the fundamentals that we are building up right now. So that keeps me motivated even after all these years.
It's a brilliant way to go about it. I mean, and enjoy the break. Did you say you just got married?
I did, yes. I got married in May, so I can't imagine planning a wedding and also coaching during that same time. So I'm very
Yeah.
glad for that separation.
You definitely need to take a moment to exhale because now that you're married, the questions of, when are the grandkids coming? When's this coming? They just keep coming. Trust me, take as much time as you need right now to breathe.
For sure, for sure.
After
Yeah,
Worlds in
yeah.
a Wedding, I think you've earned a timeout. No question. Now wait, if you guys do things together, Ondrian, do you have to get married too now? What's the plan?
Yeah, funny story. I just got married at Juntai's wedding too. I'm just kidding. I'm actually like, we're actually planning our wedding around the next cycle, so it's kind of annoying. It's like we're like, oh, we want to get married next year. What time is this race in Hong Kong going to be?
When's Hong
I
Kong gonna
know
be?
it's quite the quite in the pickles. So but yeah,
That's
if
life.
if Juntai wasn't doing it, then there's no way I could do it. I think we work very well together. We kind of balance each other in a way where it's like less work than it has to be. So yeah, it definitely was a I'll do it if you do it type of moment, like in the best way possible.
Oh, for sure.
It didn't start out as the best way. We're like, oh my gosh, we gotta do it again. And then it was like, okay, like I don't mind doing it again. To like, oh, let's do it again. Um, but I think for me, there's a lot that is left on the table for US Dragon Boat out there, I think. As you know, like after I think like the outrigger stroke is more and more incorporated into the traditional US stroke every single year. And I think like in the best and worst ways possible is like not fully developed yet, but there is so much to gain from it. And I think that challenging that aspect of it, there's just so much left to challenge and learn. I think in my own team, Rising Tide, we've experimented with things like every single season, and it's like we're getting like closer and closer, like having a great time experimenting and challenging like how fast we can push it, like what we can do with it. I know like for our 24U program, Gentai and I experiment in so many different things, and the stroke that we thought we were going into, completely different. Like we're not going to touch the powers that much at all. Like we're going to let them bring their stroke in and just advise them where to go. We ended up like changing the stroke completely, had full buy-in. They're like, yes, let's do this. Like we can tell we're getting faster. It's pretty amazing. And even for Premiere, like everything's been changing. Like the stroke changes every single year. So it's just super exciting seeing the growth and knowing that there's still more to push it. So that's the growth part for me.
Well, this is going to dovetail really well because the next question I have for each of you is how you approach athlete development. But I want to stay on the stroke change question, sort
Mm.
of that we've stumbled into right now, because I've been doing this now. I started on a corporate team in 2004. And at that point, I was being coached by a member of Philly Dragon Boat, but they were getting away from the Canadian A-frame and doing more of the outrigger stroke even then. And I've spent the last 21, 22 years working on the outrigger stroke, getting on the OC and dialing it. But even this year, we're doing a whole bunch of changes. We're basically doing a lot of the things that Josh and company in South Breeze, you guys have discovered in the work that you've done. And I am struggling with it because it's like, I know how to do this. I've been good at this. At least I thought I did. And there are days this year where I'm going back to the car going, what am I doing? How? Because, and this is where I turn it to as a coach, when you've got an athlete that you're trying to bring along and you're changing and they know how to do it. They know how to do it, but now they're running into that. How do you address that? How do you bring that athlete along and get them to kind of dance the new dance, so to speak? Nathan.
Uh, I paddled in the Philippines, right? Those were my beginning years, and the stroke is totally high.
Yeah.
The rate was the focus, right? It was the
Man.
top arm pounding, and
Oh,
at
that
some
big front
point,
end.
yeah, at some point they were the world record holders, right? At some point on the short distance.
38-second 200.
Yeah, on the 200s, right? Because again, it has its use, it has its purpose, right? And then moving to the US, there's the whole big A-frame at some point, and then it evolved to what we do now. In fact, recently I have incorporated because I'm blessed to have met a lot of Tahitian paddlers and coaches in the recent years, and I have, obviously asked them first tips here and there, and incorporating those as well. Kudos to Coach Bob also. I every time I speak to him, he's just a library of knowledge. So you put them all together, and then you go look at a paddler, and then you start with, is it the paddle too short for you or too long for you? Is your body able to do this? You can't really get everybody at the same exact robotic way, but you kind of work with each paddler. There's a spot for any paddler, or there's the front of the boat, the middle, or the back. And then again, video helps. Although with 200 members, it's video. It's not the way. It's impossible to do video for 200. But there's a lot of talking and a lot of working. And then I do have assistant coaches. I don't coach the team by myself. And so the coaches meet a lot, and we discuss the stroke a lot, whatever the evolution is. Seeing U24 last cycle, Santa Fe Dam, my facility is always home to the time trials on the West Coast for all age groups of Team USA and camps. So you kind of hear and see how they run things, and it's amazing that the juniors are on the same path, as all the other coaches, and that a culmination of all of the talents and skills of these great coaches that you teach to your athletes.
Juntai, how do you best develop an athlete that's coming along and may come in with their ideas, but you know what they need to do to work?
For sure. Yeah, I think it all comes with experience and making sure that you have the growth mindset. We've hammered down that all of us coaches are like very happy with growing, and part of that growing is knowing when to change and adapt, right? And trying to instill that growth mindset into the individual paddlers, right? So, it comes with experience. It comes with like time, just going around the world and seeing different strokes and how successful they are, and just applying that at home, where it's like, even though we're all like US paddlers, it's like every single team that you paddle on is going to be different one way or another, right? Like your open team is going to be different from your mixed, from your women. Like the physics are different, the paddlers are different, right? It's like it's so different from other sports where like, okay, if you're an individual, you have like specific biomechanics that you can leverage versus like, okay, you have 20 different biomechanics of people in a boat that act differently, right? So it's really dependent on the boat you have, and just kind of making sure that the paddlers understand and get them to learn that like being able to adapt and flow like the water that you're in is like a high level skill and ability, is how I try to frame it to them, get them into the growth mindset, and just try to learn all the time, right? I think like getting your ego out of the boat and just having empathy in general, both as a leader and as a paddler, is a very powerful tool in that regard.
Ondrian, if you've got to bring an athlete along, you've got to develop someone, but they're kind of that lump of clay that is kind of struggling. How would you kind of break it down into a way they could follow?
Jintai and I give a big ownership aspect to it. So we try to make sure that they know that they're part of the conversation. Like it's like they own whatever they want to make. I think we asked a lot of questions, like let them be in charge of a lot of things. And oftentimes like they were able to steer even our coaching talks in the right direction. I think that was really important. The second is video review, just like Nathan said. You can argue with the coach, but you can't argue with what you look like. So
I have a love-hate relationship with video
We all
review
do.
right now, honestly. There's nothing like death at 30 frames a second that just,
Me too.
but
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it's go on.
oh, at in Germany, like every single night, every single day, we did video review, and even like the most confident powers, they're like, "Oh, I
Oh.
see it."
Yeah, it's one thing how you see yourself in your mind's eye, and then when you see yourself on YouTube going one frame at a time, it's like it felt so much better than it looks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The one thing we're trying to adapt to right now is I was always taught you exit at the hip. You exit at the hip, you don't go past it. And now we're going past the hip and we're driving to the back end, and it just doesn't feel natural. And I've been working on it for 2 months now, and every day Tommy, as our assistant coach, is sending me a video going, "You need more on the back end." I'm like, "I'm already in the seat behind me." And we argue about it. He's like saying, he's like, no, look, and I just have to go. So I
The
completely
the
understand where you're
the
going to.
the advice I always give, I do run camps and clinics with other clubs and paddlers. One thing I tell them when I get asked the same question is drills, 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 drills.
Mhm.
Start your practice with drills. I mean,
Yep.
that's the only way to change it, only
Mhm.
way to learn it. Slow is the way to get fast. In the beginning, I know it can be argued by a lot of people, but
No
to
arguments for
learn
me.
something new is start slow and learn the mechanics. And but drills is definitely
Yeah.
um, the secret.
No, there's no secrets there. It's pretty much if you can imprint it, you're going to pick it up. It's just like playing music, you know, just over
Yeah.
and over. So what, along that lines of advice and things you give, what's the best advice that you have each received in your paddling or in your coaching career, Nathan?
Why is the toughest question I go first?
Oh well, I'm just
Um,
keeping the order
I'm
consistent.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
If you want to punt, we could start with Juntai. We could
I'm
do that.
good.
Think Juntai go.
You know, coaching. Since we are in a youth committee, youth commission, I'm going to speak of youth, right?
Mhm.
Working with the youth is not necessarily working with the kids. You first work with the parents. That's what you do. You first work with the parents. Without the parents, the kids cannot come to practice. Without the parents, the kids cannot pay their trip. Without the parents for the national team for Team USA, without the parents' support, the kids cannot travel, right? Or the kids cannot train in their own clubs. You also have to deal with coaches, club coaches. These are high school coaches, right? They have these big dreams about their youth, and sometimes in exclusivity to their own high school team, which I understand because it's a youth team. But then you have to grab somebody from the East Coast, from the Midwest, up north on the West Coast, and you put them all together in one boat, and then how um, there's a lot of moving pieces, and how you figure out a way to kind of puzzle them together, and understand that working with the parents is the first thing, and the parents need to support and understand. And that's the only time I work with the athletes. And the kids, it's always evolving, right? I'm not dealing with premier or seniors where most athletes that come in are already very experienced. I'm dealing with, especially my 16U, they are mostly 1 year experience. Some are half a year, but then you have to find the best in them. You put them on an OC1 and you put them on a time trial course, and you see um, something great on them, and then you just work with them, and all of a sudden they make the team, right? All of a sudden they're on the top 20, top 22 of the all the candidates. So that's probably the big general idea on that.
Yeah. Best advice you ever received, Juntai?
For me, it would probably be practice saying things out loud, and then anything that you're thinking about, say it out loud first and see how it sounds when it's out, like in the air, you know. I think like you can think plenty of things, but like when you say it into existence, it can definitely sound different. And you should always practice that beforehand, either like by yourself or with others or something like that. And I think that, I mean, that applies in life in general, but I think that it especially applies in coaching here because one thing that we try to do is like, okay, every decision we make, we have to like, we're trying to be very as transparent as possible. We have to be very clear in our reasoning and like solid in like, if anyone asks us a question of like selections or seating or anything like that, we have to have a rock solid answer. And just having that practice and like being sure that we've talked about it physically out in the world with our mouths, like really helps you make sure that like you know your stuff, right? So I've been kind of applying that to everything I do, but especially coaching in this regard.
I can tell you, I cannot necessarily let the things that come into my head come out because that's how I get 2 week suspensions from radio. That's how Carrie and I almost got banned from ever working in nationals or club cruises on the bike ever again. But that
That's
is
why you
generally good
practice.
advice. But I
I
Practice.
heard you. You were good.
I need a lot of filtering. If you put me in a room with Carrie, you've heard us. It's all over. So, Andrian, best advice you've ever gotten in your coaching or paddling career?
Yeah, mine's not from paddling, but it's to build a community, build a strong community. So I think whether it's paddling or whatever, like even in work, like if you love the people you work with, your production's higher. Same thing for paddling. Like if you like the people you paddle with, even if it's just one small cycle, like 1 year cycle, you won't paddle with them again in the future. It was like super important for us. It's funny because you said it's hard to imagine like youth in the East Coast like paddling in high school. And I think like there's not as many youth teams. So like there's probably like one or two youth in every team. Um, for some parts of the East Coast, right? Yeah, so in this past cycle, like we found those youth and then they joined the team and then they're friends to this day. So we had a camp in the East Coast in Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
yeah, they paddled there. We hung out for like a few days or and then now like every race they get, every chance they get, they're calling us on video. Like every chance they see each other, they just have a good time together. They're just so excited to see each other. So I think
Discovery
that
Pathways, right? Is that the crew you're thinking of? That was because that's the one youth team that's suddenly been lighting up the East Coast. Those kids.
no, it's
No
actually
idea.
like separate powers from like Boston, GCH,
Okay,
Pack, etc. Like they're not a youth team, but every time they see each other now, they're just so excited to see each
got
other.
it. I knew it was going to happen.
They
Sorry
were
about
they were
that.
mine. The Discovery kids were mine.
That's
I had
fantastic. Because
four
I
or
get to
five
see
of
them
them.
now on the East Coast, and they are still racing as a youth team, and they are mixing it up with the adults. And the adults, I love it because they have no idea what they're about to get hit with, and I know, and I feel like I know a secret, and I'm like, oh, this is a youth team. Watch this.
They're coming.
They went into DC this year. Just a quick sidebar about Discovery Pathways youth team, under 18, all high school kids. And the DC Cup has all these different divisions and things that go on. At the end of the day, they have this big race that they call the DC Challenge, where basically they take the best industry team, the best government team, the best finance team, and then the best youth team. And they race a 250-meter dash for a trophy. And it's this enormous, like 3 foot high, obnoxious thing. It's bigger than the Junior Cup, unfortunately. It's like DC, everything is oversized. And they just dropped the field like third period French, just half a boat win. Nobody knew what to do. And I'm like, guess what? The cup's leaving DC.
Good
So,
work. Good work.
oh yeah. So there were some of your kids were in that boat for sure. But speaking of youth, if you could go back to your younger selves, which I know for Andre and Juntai, it's not going to be that far. For Nathan, it's a little farther. And for me, it's like last century. If you could go back to your younger self when you were starting in the sport, what advice would you give?
Um, the same applies to this day. Learn, and appreciate every coach that you have. They may not be teaching what is the most effective, but from the 100 things that they teach, there's always something good to learn from them. And make sure you give them the credit. To this day, I always give credit to the coaches that I've met along the way as a youth, as a kid, when I started. God bless his soul, my coach back then in the Philippines, and he's gone, but I still appreciate the things that I learned from him, which I still use some to this day. And then all the other coaches, wonderful coaches that I met along the way. That so all, to me, it's always give them the credit, and they deserve it, you know. And then you as a kid, just keep learning, just absorb. There's a lot you can learn, not just in paddling. There's also in life, right? You know, a lot of the kids that have gone through the program are now professionals. Nothing against those who are did not go that path, but it's again, it's just wonderful to see them grow. And like Ondrian said, they're still friends to this day. And some of them sleep at my house when they're on the West Coast.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Jintai, time machine. You can go back to yourself before you even started paddling. What's the one thing you would tell a much younger Jintai?
For me personally, it'd be saying yes to more things and not being afraid to, limit test a little more. Limit test. Don't be afraid of failure. Just try it. I think that like especially when you're young, it's like that's the most important time to learn what failure is, what failure feels like, and how you grow from it. everyone says it, but like you learn the most from failure. And I think that like, going to school and stuff like that, it's like, oh no, you shouldn't fail. You shouldn't lose the race. That's not a good thing, right? But like looking back on it, it's like, okay, that's like the perfect time to like lose and, but like say yes to things, right? So like, for example, like Thailand, like we lost every single race by a huge margin, but it was the most impactful thing and the most learning that I've had that set me on this whole trajectory, right? So like that was a big turning point for me. But if I started even earlier, I think that like, it it would mean even more. And that's what I say to all the kids. It's like, why not? Try it. You never know, right?
Exactly. That's if only, right? If only you could go back and do it. But that's the voice of experience, which is why I love that question. Because if you could just open a portal and be like, stick with it, do something like that, it would be you could change a lot. But that's why we learn the way we do. Ondrian, same question to you. You're going back in
Um,
time. You find a young Ondrian. He has no idea who you are. You're like, bear with me. What are you going to tell him?
For me, it's more training related. It's more body management. Before I was thinking that the guy who paddles the most is the fastest. I was doing like 6 or 7 days a week, some days double. My body was wrecked. I was not seeing growth. And then like just this year, actually, I was talking a lot with David, one of our teammates. It's just he was just explaining like, oh, this is like how the body works, kind of like this is the optimal um, approach you should take. And then it's not as aggressive as you might think, but it's just like the consistent understanding of your body that makes you a lot faster. So I think that changed my perspective on a lot of things and made a lot of progress after finding that out. So yeah, would have been nice to know 10 years earlier.
Yeah, when you're training in your 20s, you don't know any better. I look back on my training logs and it's like, why? What were
Why?
you
Yeah,
doing?
exactly.
I mean, I was throwing, just like you were saying, tons of volume out the window, and I got better when my daughter was born because I didn't have time to train and I had to be smarter. And suddenly I was
You
getting
know
more out
what
of
they
five
call
hours a
that?
week than I was out of 14. I was like, where
You
was
know
the,
what they call that? They call those the
yeah,
pregnancy
that's
gains.
no joke.
They say all the women and men, like after they have babies, they're faster because they don't have time to paddle
Yeah.
anymore.
And it's also because you learn how to operate without sleep and
Rest.
you gain a like super power that allows you to function. But I've only got one, and she's now 20. Nathan, I don't know how, what, you have three?
Three. Yeah.
I'm out. Totally done. Couldn't do it. Last topic I want to cover. One thing you think that every young athlete, aspiring national team paddler that might be looking at the program should know. Because I know from my first national cycle, the first time I tried it, was I literally had to be dragged into trying out by one of my mentors. And I was 37 years old. So yeah, I should have known better, but I was intimidated as hell. I'm like, there's no look, I just tried out to shut him up. I'm like, I'm gonna do this and then we're never gonna speak of it again. I didn't know any better. So if you've got to bring a young paddler in that is looking at the potential of wearing the uniform, what's the one thing you think they ought to know? Nathan.
If you want something, you gotta put your mind on it. It changes your daily schedule. It changes your priorities in life. But if it's something that you want, definitely work hard to earn it. And then it's not always success. Like I said earlier, I work a lot with parents, and the parents think that I have a magic wand to teach their kids to make the national team. I always teach the kids, we all, including myself, we try out, right? And then if we don't make the team, it's okay. Use that as a learning lesson and figure out how you can do better next time. So truly, the advice I will give them is just go for it. But obviously, when you go for something, make sure you learn. You change the way you do things, change the way you eat, change your sleeping discipline, and just learn. Especially for the juniors, since that's our audience. Um, um, Learn from the coaches. And learn from what you see from your teammates as well. And the very last one that I actually tell them, I just remember now, is respect the sport. and respect the boat. I hate, I'm sorry for the word, but I don't like the kids, celebrating at the finish line, taunting or yelling at the other boats. I always tell them, bring that energy back to shore, and then let's celebrate at the shore, right? Again, as juniors, right? So that they learn the respect of the boat, they learn the respect of the boat, and obviously the opponents. Because once you get out of the boat, there's no more opponents. You're just all paddling friends. So.
Even if they're Canadian, do I have to be nice to them?
No, they're nice. They're nice team, but we beat them.
Yeah,
I got
that's
15
that's my
goals.
personal bias shining through. We can clean that up in post. But
I did get 15 gold medals out of that.
yeah, I got 14 silvers behind Canadian crews. Not that I'm counting. They've beaten them a few times, but they got me pretty good. So anyway,
They have a great coaching program too, and I'm friends with them, so no, they're good.
That's
They
fair.
really do.
Yep. Juntai, one thing you think a prospective athlete should know before they dive into the pool?
I'm gonna kind of break this into two parts. The first part is like these programs are very much like you definitely get what you put into it, right? Like whatever energy you put in, I can guarantee that like there will be people who will match your energy, right? No matter like if you casually paddle, there will be other casual paddlers who will, match your energy. Or if you are going all in and you are putting in all your time, you will find the people, the leaders and the other paddlers who will do the same with you and push you to be faster and better as a paddler. So like that should be super encouraging that like whatever you're trying to get out of it, you will get out what you put in. And I would say that like I feel like I've talked to a lot of paddlers who are like, it's very daunting to be like, oh, you want to try out for the national team? I talked to like some college paddlers who have only been paddling, on their college team for like 2 years or something. And they're like, there's no way I can make the college or like the national team to compete in the international worlds. But it's my firm belief that we are enough of a niche sport that like like we can train most anyone to get into an elite level, or at least close to it, like uh, very capably within, a year and a half or something like that. Like it all depends on how much you go in, and it's like we're not a sport at a point where like you have to start when you're a child and like have the correct genetics and have like require like thousands and like tens of thousands of dollars of training and equipment, specialized things, right? We like we're still in a phase of if you have the grit and the gumption and the spirit, you can make it. So it's like it's anyone's game right now. And I hope that like anyone who has an inkling of like trying out or like any interest at all to like just, you know, try it. I think a lot of people get scared off by like the concept of like such high stakes and such fast paddlers around them. But like the gap or like the necessary work to get there is hard, but I think achievable for like most people who want it, right?
Absolutely. Ondrian, how do you want to follow up on that? I know you guys are
Yeah.
running in parallel all night. You guys are definitely very good coaching teammates together.
Yeah, I hope we proved it to you. I'm just kidding.
I know you did.
When Josh was head coach, he was saying how the most like he was like the most important thing of this program is the development of it. Like we'll take anyone and make sure that anyone can join. We'll just try to raise them up. And if their heart's not in it, then they just won't be in it. I think when we took over, we really wanted to solidify that value of us of 24U. So yeah, we take everyone. A lot of people think our program is very extra when they see the amount of assistant coaches and staff we have. We have like almost 50 staff in the program, which is kind of crazy. They're all like great paddlers, and this is just because they have so much passion for youth development. So every staff is paired with like 4 to 5 paddlers, and you just get this special opportunity where you can ask them any questions you want. paddle with them, learn from them, and I think that's just really special. So while people might think we're extra, we're just doing everything we can to give the youth as many opportunities as possible, no matter how fast or slow you are. So yeah, please join. You'll have a great time.
I mean, to echo the sentiment as I'm listening and I'm replaying in my head, I mentioned earlier, I was basically dragged into the sport by a mentor because I had joined on a corporate team. And he's like, I really think you should join PDBA, Philly Dragon Boat. And I said, absolutely not. I'm good where I am. I don't need to go get on a team like that and get smoked. I won't do it. Well, he showed up at my house and dragged me to a practice. So I did the practice. And after a season of that, he's like, you should really try out for the national team. And we had the same conversation. I said, absolutely not. I'm going to get destroyed. Look, I already survived high school and I don't need to go through that again. But he stayed after me and I tried out. And to the point of you got to lose before you can really appreciate it. I made it to the last day in 2009. I was the last guy cut. And then in 2011, I tried out again. I had just turned 40. So I'm like, okay, I'll make senior A, maybe. I ended up being the last guy cut from Premier again, but I made senior A. So I got to wear the uniform, but I'm like, well, this has been a great journey. This has been amazing so far. In 2013, I made Premier on the first day.
Yeah.
We ended up not medaling, like not winning a gold, but I came up with some medals and thought, okay, at least I can check the Premier box. 2015 comes along, coaching politics. I wasn't allowed to try out for another division because they each siloed up. So I went with senior A. 2017, I'm 42 years old. And I'm like, what the heck? I'll try it one more time. Made Premier on the last day and got to race in Kunming in the Premier boat. And only because I had been dragged along, but just all the points you were making, even though I was much older than a prospective junior, the lesson still applies. You can take the leap. You can get in the game. You can mix it up. And yeah, maybe you're going to come up short. Maybe you're going to be disappointed, but you're going to always come out stronger. And if you stick with it and you listen to the coaches like yourselves, you're going to grow. You're going to get better and you're going to be so much closer than you think. And I just love that aspect. And I think the foundation of where the USDBF is going and where the youth program is going is based on the energies that you bring to it and sharing messages like this so that we can keep it growing. And I'm just sitting here nodding along going, yep, I'm at the other end of the spectrum now. I mean, my goal is to finish a career Grand Slam. I've got a gold in Premier. I've got one in Senior A. I got one in Senior B. I need to survive to get to Senior C and finish one more. But that's all part of the journey, right? So, at this point, I want to thank all three of you for joining us on the first. I know it was a bit of an experimental one, but I'd like to think we landed the plane pretty well.